Welcome back to Rad JBI. I'm JB. This is my coworker Anthony. We recently spent some time riding in Utah, and we got to visit the Jordan River OHV Motocross track. And during that time, we took some notes regarding our suspension settings and what would work best there. During our time there, the track was well prepped and watered, so we got to experience it on a really good day. What we found was that our standard JBI motocross spec performed very well there. I did run my suspension on the firmer side. So if you've ever got suspension done from us before, you would look at our JBI suspension settings guide, and I was running the firmer settings. The reason for this is we found that many of the jumps had some pretty steep faces and therefore had some pretty big landings as well. So in order to ensure that my bike wouldn't bounce if I shorted anything, instead stick to the ground, I preferred the stiffer settings. Also, what helped was the amount of traction that the track had that day as well. So even though the track did get a little bumpy, the bike wasn't really dancing a lot because the tire was still digging into the ground, turning, staying straight, and not moving a lot. So it's another reason why I was able to I don't want to say cheat, but leverage more of those stiffer settings. We're feeling very confident in the settings that we have developed already, that they will perform very well up in Jordan River. We did ride all the way to the end of the day to where the track got closed. So we did get to experience the track once the water kind of had dried up and it was a lot slicker out. We both maintain our same settings, but I could see a time where you maybe want to go a little bit softer, because at that point you begin to lose a little bit of traction. Your tire is going to spin a little bit more than it has been earlier in that day. So in order to keep the tire on the ground for as long as possible, we might go a little softer, so that way the suspension isn't deflecting as much. Now there's going to be a little bit of compromise in this, because due to the size of the jumps out there, your bike may land a little bit harder because of the softer settings. And this is where it becomes up to you, the rider, to determine what you value more as a setup. Would you prefer a slightly firmer setup that maybe doesn't have as much traction as it could in those harder packed slick conditions? Or would you prefer a slightly softer setup so you can get as much traction as possible in those harder packed slick conditions? Granted, the condition of the track is going to vary throughout the year, and especially during the climate and how the prep can go from day to day. But what we found is overall our JBI spec motocross setting performs very well out there, and the tunability of it with our settings guide is going to allow you to really tune your bike to fit better depending on the conditions that you have that day. What was your experience out there? And with that, what tires would you recommend for that type of riding terrain that Jordan River has?
Jordan River is a really fun track. If you haven't been there, I highly suggest check it out, as it has a lot to offer. It's got a little bit of elevation change, it's got some rollers, some bigger jumps, some smaller jumps, and multitude of tracks to ride. So if you're not feeling comfortable on the main track or the west track, they got some 85 tracks and some dedicated tracks geared more towards riders who are learning how to ride, or maybe beginner riders as well. I ran my JBI spec bike, which is the JBI spec Gas MC350F. I have a 6500 kit up front and the WP linkage shock out back. And I run my shock pretty much all the way in on the compression clicker high speed. On the low speed, I was a few clicks out from all the way stiff or in as well. Up front, I was about 4 clicks out from all the way stiff. So if you have your JBI spec settings guide with you, again, that would be more towards the firmest setting out at that track. For that particular day, the track was running really fast. Again, a lot of big jumps. So I didn't feel the need to soften my suspension. I really just left my suspension was from the day before as we rode the Flying Iron Horse Ranch, which requires a pretty stiff setup as well. Now for tire choice, I rocked up with the Bridgestone X31 front tire and the Bridgestone X10 rear tire. Now to give you guys a brief overview over those two tires, there are two different offerings from Bridgestone. Let's start out back with the X10R. The X10R is more of a dedicated sand or scoop tire, but this tire, in my opinion, is more of a hybrid tire, as it has some characteristics from a knobby tire and some characteristics from a full-on scoop tire. That being the carcass of the tire is more of a softer intermediate type of terrain carcass. Now up front, I had the Bridgestone Battlecross X31. That is their soft intermediate knobby terrain tire. Really works well in the morning when the track's pretty deep, has a lot of traction, but as the track dries out throughout the day, it gets really baked, hard packed, track starts to go away. That tire really maintains a certain amount of grip and predictability over the course of a day. Now, one thing to keep in mind as you ride or heading out to ride is the make tire that you have, the model tire that you have, the tire age or degradation of the tire, and also the PSI. I normally stick to around 13 to 13.5 PSI. I'm not a PSI weenie. I'm not like, oh, it's off by half a PSI. I just kind of check it. If I'm right in the window where I want to be, I'm good to go. Those tires seem to be really predictable at that track at those PSIs as well. So we highly suggest to check those tires out, and highly suggest to check out JBI spec suspension for your bike if you're in that area.
Yes. So if you're in Utah and you're looking to get your suspension done, please give us a call. We're doing our best to come visit places out of state to us so we can better learn your tracks, your terrain, and your obstacles. So when it comes to building your suspension, there's very minimal guesswork on our part in order for us to understand how we need to customize our JBI spec settings for you.